Okay, so throughout this we've been kind of covered this a little bit, but let's just have a quick brainstorming session thinking about what type of considerations you would get when you're supporting, and just in general, so very, very general. Yes, thank you, Tammy. So in general, what kind of considerations do you think you're going to take into account when you're supporting victims of crime? Listen, yeah. And what do you mean by listen? Rather than just hearing, is there a difference to the...
Active listening.
Yeah, so active listening, what does that actually mean?
Let them know that you're actually paying attention.
Yeah,
to
let
what
them
you're
know
saying.
that you
actually
hear
hear
them.
what you say, what they're saying, and you're interested in what they're saying.
Yeah.
And that's through listening, and it's through eye contact.
Yes.
You might
That's
paraphrase to make sure that you've understood what it is that you're just saying.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Clarification.
Because remember, when someone's coming from a different perspective, sometimes we can hear the words, but we don't really understand what it is they're saying. So by picking up on that and paraphrasing back to them and checking to make sure that we've actually taken the correct message, that's really important. Part of active listening is listening to the stuff that isn't said as well as the stuff that is said. Yeah, good.
I think we're all guilty of sticking and listening to somebody, but you're actually already formulating what you think the answer is in your own mind, so you need to be listening to the person.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Validating.
Validating, yes, very important. What do we mean by validating?
Well, you can repeat to them certain things I've said, just to say, just let me get that right. Have you said that you felt this way? Have I got that right? And then they'll say yeah, or they'll say no, it's actually this is what I meant.
Yeah, so you're checking to see that you've understood what they're saying. What about specifically validating how they're feeling? So making them feel that how they're feeling is okay.
Yep.
You could get all sorts of things. You could get somebody that's angry, you could get somebody that's really, really distressed.
Yeah.
You could get a mixture of that sort of thing, and it's obviously important to say to them that's understood as part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, to let them know that how they're feeling is normal.
Yeah. So we talked about the different impacts that people might experience because of hate crime and the difficulty in linking that to their victimisation. And part of validating that person's experience is recognising the psychological harm, the perhaps economic hardship, perhaps social issues that they have been affected by because of the hate crime or hate incidents. So validation of their emotional response to being victimised is very important.
Allowing them the time and space to think or have a cry, not trying to jump in and fill the silence all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is let it be silent and let them have the moment.
Yes, because, and this is something, now that I'm doing so much training and I'm thinking I'm repeating myself and I'm not sure, but something that's come to my mind is, have you ever been in a situation where you've got a problem that is kind of niggling at you and like you're right, okay, I need to speak to my pal about this, and then you start talking about it and explaining what the problem is, and by the time you've got to the end of your explanation, you've worked out what the solution is. So giving people time to talk allows them to perhaps even reach their own solutions and conclusions without you even have to make any suggestions. Yeah.
Before I start talking, first thing I do, I explain that whatever they say is confidential.
Yes.
And that's my first opening line. I'm here to listen, but whatever you tell me is confidential. It won't be disclosed to any third party without your permission.
Yeah, and if we look at all the reasons why people give for not reporting, a lot of them are to do with they don't want to make a fuss, they don't want other people to know, they don't want to, they're scared about retaliation. So our confidentiality is really important. Yeah.
Non-judgmental.
Non-judgmental, very important. Yeah. And that, let's face it, can be very, very difficult. We talk about this all the time as an organisation, but actually, do you know what? You've really got to try, you've really got to be conscious of it, and you've got to be aware of it and know how important it is. Poker face, that's it.
Believe someone.
Yes. Absolutely.
Like, for example, we talked about Stephen Lawrence. Just none of the family members were being believed about anything.
Being empathic as well.
Yeah, empathy. And hopefully that some of the subjects that we've covered in this course will allow you to tap into, you know, some of the stories that we've heard, some of the stories that you guys have shared will allow you to tap into that and to help you empathise. What else?
Maybe ask questions and
Open question.
but it's like it's more about like asking questions but showing a curiosity, as in I'm not just lip service and I'm not just doing this because I'm trained to.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested.
I'm interested
Taking
in
genuine
you.
interest.
Yes. Yeah.
I think you need to take some time to understand the person and what's important to them about their identity that's been targeted, I guess. So, for example, if you were targeted because of your race or your religion or your sexuality or whatever it is, what is important to that person?
About that. Or,
Why and not why, but how, and only once you understand what's important to them can you really gather how they've been affected by it.
Yeah.
It's also a way to find out, as you said, about the different things that are affecting them, and not just be the one, because you normally find back down the line there's other things, and this has just came up to your head, but there's been other things that's affected.
And also to ask about other experiences of hate as well. So we've learned that very often people are victimised over and over and over again, and it could just be this one incident that's ended up going through the system, and so therefore they've accessed support with us. So in order to help, then we're going to have to understand what other experiences we've had, because that's going to also impact on how we deal with that.
We're also looking at trust.
Trust. So how do you think you're going to create that trust?
You've got to make sure that the person understands that you are there for them and you're there to support them, and you're giving them all of your attention and using everything else that's up there is building that trust between you and the victim.
You're independent from the criminal justice system.
I think the first thing you've got to tell them is you're independent from the police.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, do what you say you're going to do, don't.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them then come to court and say, I was told this would happen and this hasn't happened, or I was told I would need to do something.
Yeah, so keep promises.
Usually when you say you're a volunteer, it works well with the trust.
Yeah.
Why? Because it naturally makes them think, well, you're here because you want to help me.
Yeah.
You're here because you're paid to
And
be
I think
here.
that's a really important,
I always tell them right away,
really
I'm a
important
volunteer.
aspect. Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, when I first joined the organisation and I learned about what you volunteers do, I was like, oh, you're honestly, because it's such an important and crucial job, and I think
It's a
we had
different
this
category of
conversation.
volunteering.
Yeah, and we had this conversation, and Michael kind of made me understand that actually that's part of the uniqueness of our organisation, and part of the support that we offer is that it is a person to a person. It's not a staff member. I know that you guys support as well, but the unique relationship where it's a person who has chosen to give their time to support another person, I think, is so powerful.
When you go to a service and you're met by a member of staff,
Yeah.
you don't get that same connection because you think, you're talking to me because you have to.
Yeah.
You're paid to be here and whatever, you're just going to nod your head and say, aye, whatever. When you get somebody who's a volunteer, you automatically think, well, do you know what, you're here because you want to help me, because there's never reason for you to be here.
So I think that's a really good point you make.
As soon as you say you're a volunteer.
Quite a lot of them can't believe, because they
Aye.
say, what, you mean you're not paid? So why are you doing this?
Why are they not paid?
I fistful in a shop one day,
Uh-huh.
and I was talking about doing this, and she says, you mean you've actually got all those folk I see sitting there? are
Honestly,
volunteers?"
they didn't know.
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay, thanks very much. That's all really good stuff. Maybe share a picture of that on Yammer or something.
Of course.
So, in addition to what we've talked about, I'm going to go through some guidelines that have been published by Victim Support in Europe. on providing support for people who have been victims of hate crime. And this will be in your workbooks as well.
88.
On page 88. So, I'll just quickly read through this slide for you guys. So, one of the first guidelines is those affected by hate crime sometimes need urgent support to deal with the immediate consequences. And I suppose that's something that we haven't really touched on, but what type of immediate support do you think people... Yes, so there could be housing issues. What other type of immediate support?
Well, if it's sexual, they might need to go and get examined or...
Yeah, it could be, if they've been attacked, or there could be an immediate need for medical attention. What else?
Safety at home.
Safety at home and in the community. Yeah, so there could be really urgent needs that we need to prioritise. Those affected by hate violence need to be believed, so we've got that up here. People who have experienced hate crime need time to articulate their needs. We're doing really well, aren't we? Time to talk. Victims might require help to communicate their needs. So this could be language barriers, it could be cultural barriers as well. Victims might need an advocate or supporter to express their needs. And that's something that we might have to think about, how we can, as an organisation, support that. Also, the expressed needs of the victim must be recognised, acknowledged and addressed. And that's part of the validation. Help will be needed to identify resources to overcome the consequence of hate violence or hate crime. And that's about multi-agency approach, accessing other support organisations. And then needs specific to the victim's social identity. So we talked about right at the start of the course yesterday the difference between your own personal identity and understanding about who you are and your social identity, so the identity that's thrust on you by the society that you live in. And there's sometimes a conflict there. And then also support for those indirectly affected by hate violence. So we've touched on supporting people who are not the direct victims. So that can be friends, family members, it can be communities, members in the community. So anyone that's been affected by crime should have access to support.